Well, today I'm going to pick up on from a video I did about 9 months ago. In fact, it's a video that has now become my most watched video on today's Shopsmith, with over 25,000 views in less than, 9-10 months. It's the video where I give a tutorial on how to do lathe turning for the beginner. So today, instead of spindle turning, which is what I showed a few months ago, we're going to talk about bowl turning with a twist. The twist is real simple. I didn't go down to any fancy chain wood shop and buy a big bowl blank for 30, 40, 50 bucks. I'm using scrap lumber. I guess the real twist is the scrap lumber is nothing but plywood, mostly plywood. I did use a old seasoned piece of 2-inch thick pine too. I should also point out I'm not using any special equipment. Just the contrary, I'm using a 3-inch faceplate and 3 of the 5 chisels I've used for the last 40 years. Gouge, I'm going to use quite a bit. Parting tool, and the round nose. Let's get to it. So starting out, I just marked the center of each of my square pieces of scrap. That's important. Then, using the bandsaw and my homemade circle cutting jig, this is going to speed up the operation quite a bit. I cut about 6, a couple of them were a little larger, 6-inch diameter circles. If you haven't seen how to make a homemade circle cutting jig that works like a beauty, again, I did a video on here on today's Shopsmith that a lot of people love. So I cut those all out, including the 2-inch thick piece, all cut like a dream. Look at that, perfect. Then it's just a matter of using plenty of glue, spreading it all around, and stacking each piece one on top of the other. Very, very important to get that material covered completely. Then it was a matter of clamping it all up. You see me doing that here. I used about 4 clamps for these pieces, and I let that set overnight. The glue set up, I eyeballed the center of the pieces and screwed in my faceplate. No, this is not the faceplate that Shopsmith sells. This is one that I've been using for several years just because I like it. But now I'm just setting up the lathe for turning. Tailstock with a live center, by the way, tool rest, and my bowl blank. Make sure that thing's locked down good. Give that Allen wrench a little wiggle. Make sure you seat that set screw real good. Now when you're turning a bowl, the outside of it, we're going to turn between centers. You can turn it like you see right there without using the tailstock, but for a lot of extra rigidity and stability, I like to do the outside of those bowls between centers. You see why that's important here in a little bit. So I'm using a Power Pro, so let's see what the Power Pro says we need to round this out at. Find the lathe. There's the lathe. Punch that. It's softwood, plywood, about 6-inch, some a little bit wider. There's rounding. It says 690. That's 10 RPM slower than a conventional Shopsmith headstock can go. I'm curious. Oh yeah, still got some vibration, but that's pretty common. So what I actually did, I went down in 10 RPM increments until the vibration pretty much disappeared. That's not too bad right there. So this is important. Every lathe turning starts with rounding out your material. Just like I showed in the original video on doing spindles, that's what I'm doing here. I'm rounding this out, truing it up, making sure it's all nice and consistent. It's going to take you some time. I'm using the gouge. Another very important thing to remember is we're using a scraping technique. The tool rest, notice, is just below the center line so that when you bring the cutting edge of the chisel itself in, it's on center line. You work this slowly, back and forth, until you get a nice, consistent, smooth surface. lay your chisel on top, if it doesn't bounce, it's round. Now the fun begins. With the gouge again, you literally, and this is the art of lathe turning, shape the exterior of your vessel. I wanted something fairly round with kind of a taper into it. That's what I'm doing here. When you think about a bowl and look at it from the outside, it's nothing more than a big wide bead. I showed you how to do beads in that original video. Take your time, have fun with this. Like I say, you're the designer here now. This can be a nice shape here. Then I'm going to put a lid on this thing, so that's why I use that piece of 2-inch pine. And my parting tool, I'm setting how wide the lid's going to be and the location of the lid. I'm just going to run that down to where I like, a little bit more. And then I'm going to cut this off with a saw. I'm going to work the lid itself till I get the shape that I want. Using the gouge still. Put a little nub on there. You see why I did that here in a minute. Then you actually start sanding, get ready for finish. You say I'm going to cut that off now with just a simple hand saw. There's other ways of doing it for lathe turner, but a beginner, just use a hand saw to cut that off. When you're gutting out the bowl, that's the easiest part. With your round nose, you're literally going in again, perpendicular, on the center line. And notice the pivot motion. You take that down as deep as you like. Let me stop here for a minute and point out something very, very unique on the Shopsmith lathe. And this is specific to bowl turning. When you're ready to actually work the face of that bowl, gut it out, pull your tailstock. And the nice thing about the Shopsmith, you can bring your tool rest so you're facing right into it. So now, instead of having to lean over like standard lathes, you could actually pull up a stool and work like this. And you're able to position that tool rest anywhere you want, but you're working straight in to the project. That's a real plus on a wood lathe. So once you've got your bowl shaped, you got the inside gutted out, this is when you actually do your finish work. Start sanding, coarse, medium, fine, super fine. Take her up as far as you need. When you're happy with it, again, grab your hand saw and cut that off from the bottom blank. That's what I did here, and then using the disc sander, I'm just sanding the saw marks off with the disc sander. So there you have it, one turned bowl. I'm going to use this as a candy dish, to be honest with you. There is one thing I did after most of this video. I added the little fur finial to the top of that just to give me a better grip. Finish-wise, there's any number of finishes you could be using on a bowl. A lot of people like to use beeswax. For this project, I used about 4 coats of a lacquer just because that's what I had readily available. But overall, it came out looking pretty good, didn't it? Again, I'm stressing the fact that whether you're doing a spindle turning or a bowl, it's all pretty much the same. You start out by rounding out your material, truing it up, shaping that piece, beads and coves. There's our big bead, okay? And then the difference is with the bowl, you got to gut the inside of it. But that again, using the same scraping technique, using your round nose. Anybody can do this, especially a beginner. You can knock out projects economically, quickly, and safely. Get out there and do it. I think you'll enjoy it. For now, if you like this kind of video, make sure you like it. And if you want to see more of this kind of video, I need your help. Subscribe. I'm Mike Young, and this is today's Shopsmith.